One day, there was a woman reading a book about the story of a sorceress named Ake. He was a member of the demon army and the grandchild of Romberg, a great and powerful demon sorcerer. In the war against humans, Ake successfully conquered enemy territory in just 1 week. When facing the enemy leader, Ake offered a few choices: surrender and become a prisoner, or flee from his presence. However, the knight chose to fight, and Ake was forced to incapacitate him with magic. After the war ended, Ake felt guilty for causing so much suffering. Although he was part of the Demon King's army, he was not accustomed to such bloody battles. The reason was that behind the mask he always wore, Ake was actually a human. His mentor, Romberg, was a powerful sorcerer. Despite Ake being human, Romberg decided to raise him and teach him magic. Before Romberg's death, he gave Ake a dying wish: to never remove his mask, because if his identity was revealed, the Demon King would not forgive him. Not long after conquering Arsenum, a maid accidentally saw Ake's true face. Soon after, Ake accompanied his subordinates to inspect the condition of a city they had conquered. Unlike other demon armies, Ake showed mercy to the inhabitants and imposed taxes that were the same as before. While interacting with the city's people, Ake was suddenly teleported to a place where a golem was rampaging. Captain Seviro, who had intentionally summoned him there, quickly asked Ake to defeat the golem. Seviro was the leader of the Demon King's army and the only demon who knew Ake's secret. The reason Seviro summoned Ake was because Lord Darokuten wanted to meet him. According to Ake, Darokuten, the Demon King, was known as a very strong figure who showed no mercy to anyone, whether friend or foe. However, when Ake met him, all his assumptions were wrong. It turned out that Darokuten was a woman, and her personality was not as cruel as rumored. When Darokuten asked if Ake had truly conquered the formidable Arsenum in just 1 week, Ake humbly explained that he had merely followed orders, and that all the plans had been arranged by Captain Seviro. This humility made Darokuten think that Ake's character was very much like a human's. She also felt surprised by Ake's actions, as Ake often avoided bloodshed during conquests. To avoid raising suspicion, Ake then asked for permission to share his opinion. He suggested that instead of punishing humans and ruling them with fear, it would be better to use them wisely for greater gains. Hearing this proposal, Darokuten immediately approached Ake and said that Ake had a different aura from the other demons. She also stated that one day, he would like to see Ake's true face behind his mask.
なんじゃアイクよ。柄にもなく緊張していたのか。
小さいんです。そんなことより、これが仮面だってバレちゃいま。
なかったことに感謝するんじゃな。
The war continued. The demon army had advanced to the Rosalia region and successfully breached its fortress. Meanwhile, Ake, who had just returned to Arsenum, immediately recruited Sati as his servant. He couldn't let her go because she had discovered his true identity. At the same time, Captain White Rose Knight received an order from his leader to reclaim the territory occupied by the demons. After the task was given, soldiers were quickly deployed to carry it out. On the other side, Sati was watching a street game where participants had to guess which cup held the ball, betting money in the process. Since Sati didn't have any money, the game organizer tried to take advantage of her. However, Ake quickly intervened and exposed the game's trickery. The game owner, feeling his business was sabotaged, chased after them, demanding compensation. After confirming there were no other people around, Ake immediately threatened them using his magic. He also tried to extract information from them about the activities of the soldiers in the city. The man revealed that the Rosalia army planned to attack the demon army before the alliance could be formed. This way, they hoped to gain a greater advantage in the leadership elections. After receiving this information, Ake immediately ordered his troops to head to the location where the enemy would strike. This way, the enemy had no chance to launch an attack and was forced to retreat due to being outnumbered. The ambush was successfully thwarted by Ake. However, while observing the situation from a distance, Ake was suddenly struck by an arrow from behind. Meanwhile, the news of the White Rose Knight's retreat was not well received by the enemy. As a result, Elisir was asked to take responsibility and was detained for a time. Later, Ake, who had been hit by the arrow, began to recover. When he woke up, he was shocked to find Seviro sleeping beside him. Ake couldn't remember what had happened to him, and Seviro explained that he had been attacked, and it was she who healed Ake's wounds. Because Ake was shot from behind, he suspected there was a spy or traitor nearby. After recovering, Ake was determined to investigate further. Lilith and Sati then came to visit him. However, since the two of them were always arguing, Jerome quickly ordered one of them to leave. Afterward, Ake went to the human prison to speak with Elisir, accompanied by Lilith. They managed to bypass the guards and entered the prison quickly. However, when they were about to go upstairs, they were spotted and had to separate. When Ake asked Elisir if she had sent someone to kill him, Elisir didn't immediately answer. Instead, he asked Ake if he was human. As the guards approached, Ake used magic to weaken their senses. As a result, their movements slowed as if time itself had frozen. Although he had the opportunity to eliminate them, Ake chose not to do so. Instead, he attacked without causing harm, merely pushing them aside to get them out of the way. When Elisir fell, Ake immediately leapt to save him. Afterward, Ake introduced himself as one of the leaders of the Demon King's army. Regarding Elisir's question about whether he was human, Ake firmly stated that he was not human. He then asked again if Elisir had sent someone to kill him. As a knight of the kingdom, Elisir refused to answer. Ake was forced to corner him with mind-reading magic. Seeing Ake cornering Elisir against the wall, Lilith misunderstood the situation and thought they were getting close. Feeling jealous, Lilith demanded that Ake treat her the same way, but Ake ignored her and decided to head home. When he arrived home, Sati greeted Ake warmly, then gave Sati a gift, rice he had found in the kingdom's capital. Ake asked Sati to cook the rice while he took care of some important matters. Since it was proven that Elisir had not been involved in the assassination attempt against him, Ake assumed there was a spy in his ranks. To uncover the spy, he gathered all his troops and used mind-reading magic on them. The spy was found in no time. After capturing him, Ake immediately went to Seviro to discuss the next steps. Though it was an inconvenient time, Seviro quickly understood the situation and offered the best solution. The traitor, Nathan, turned out to be a subordinate of Jess, the one-eyed goblin. When Jess heard that his spy had been caught and Ake was coming to meet him, he quickly gathered his forces, not wanting his plan to end there. Meanwhile, Ake came alone, making Jess believe he could easily defeat him. However, the truth was that Ake had not come alone. As Jess's forces gathered, Seviro secretly launched a deadly meteor shower.
Huh?
黒い光より暗い真っ暗闇の中に崩壊させる災いの城。
Due to the vast reach of the attack, the meteors not only hit Jess's troops but also nearly leveled the buildings in the city. Although punishment had been dealt, Ake felt the method was excessive, as rebuilding the city would be very difficult. After Jess's forces were decimated, Ake gave him two choices: surrender now or surrender after losing everything. Despite being defeated, Jess chose to flee through a secret passage. However, Ake and Seviro managed to find and capture him. They immediately interrogated Jess to find out who was behind the conspiracy. Next, when Ake faced the Demon King, Seviro explained that the mastermind behind this betrayal was likely Bastio. The proof was that Bastio had asked Vice Captain Jess to join him in targeting the Demon King and his followers. However, Bastio denied the accusation, claiming that they attacked the Vice Captain and accused him of treason to seize the Demon King's position. It didn't matter who lied. According to military rules, both sides were supposed to be punished, but since their armies were still fighting against humans, the Demon King was reluctant to lose them. Instead, Demon King Dai Rokuten decided to settle the matter through a duel between demons. Seviro then explained that this duel would involve the use of puppet troops. Each leader would control 50 puppet soldiers to destroy the enemy's forces. The duel could also be carried out by representatives, so Seviro wanted to make Ake his representative. According to him, Ike's leadership abilities had already surpassed her own, and therefore, Seviro was ready to entrust her life to Ake. When inspecting the puppet army to be used for the duel, Ache saw that the puppets were designed to follow the commands of their controller, so the victory would depend on the leader's command abilities. While thinking about what weapons to use, Sati suggested using a crossbow, but Ache decided to find something more powerful and unseen by the enemy. After some thought, he had the idea of using a rifle in the duel. As a skilled alchemist, Seviro was expected to create the rifle for Ache. However, despite Ache explaining the materials and methods needed, Seviro refused to make it. Instead, Seviro invited Ache to play in the water. While Ache was changing clothes, the Demon King, Dai Rokuden, suddenly approached him. Without explanation, Dai Rokuden handed Ache a rifle, as if knowing that this was what he needed. Additionally, Dai Rokuden revealed that she had known Ache was human for a long time. The reason she ignored this fact was to fulfill her dream of building a new world on Earth. She believed that Ache was the one who could make that dream come true. After receiving the rifle, Ache needed some ammunition and gunpowder. He asked Seviro to make lead bullets that could fit the barrel of the rifle. However, when Ache requested 500 rounds, Seviro told him to have her servant Fiorentina make them, claiming that she was worried about ruining her skin. The next day, the duel between Ache and Bastio began in front of the Demon King. Both tried to show their best skills in strategy and leadership. Using Damascus steel swords, Bastio believed that Ache wouldn't be able to defeat his puppet army. But when Ache commanded his soldiers to fire, Bastio stood still, watching as one by one his soldiers were defeated. After all of Bastio's forces were wiped out, the Demon King declared Ache the winner. According to the rules, Bastio, as the loser, would be executed. However, just as he was about to be executed, Bastio and his soldiers launched a full-scale rebellion against the Demon King. Bastio had carefully planned this rebellion. Together with his undead troops, he launched a resistance against the Demon King and her followers. In addition to deploying a large number of soldiers, Bastio also used explosions to eliminate anyone who opposed him. Within a short time, the undead forces controlled the arena. This made Bastio believe that the Demon King's forces had been defeated. Therefore, before it was too late, Bastio tried to persuade Ache to join him. If Ache agreed, he promised to let Ache remain as the captain of Brigade 7. However, Ache refused the offer. He stated that Bastio was not worthy of saying such things because he would never be able to become the Demon King. Upon hearing this response, Bastio immediately ordered his troops to attack Ache. Surrounded, Ache was still able to face them all with his magical powers. He slaughtered the skeleton soldiers attacking him. Additionally, he also mastered flying magic, so no one could escape his reach. However, since his opponents were undead, regular magic had no effect on them. Despite this, Ache never gave up. He was forced to use a powerful magic which he had never shown to anyone before. At the same time, Seviro and the others joined the battle. They quickly slaughtered the undead forces scattered outside the arena. The Demon King then declared that Bastio's opponent was Ache, and Bastio would be given the chance to live if he could defeat him. Feeling he would not win, Bastio refused the Demon King's command and attacked Ache with all his abilities. Ache tried to withstand the attack, and when an opportunity arose, he immediately countered using his white magic. Seeing the white magic, the demons were shocked, as white magic comes from a pure heart and is almost impossible for demons to master. In the past, when Ake was learning magic, he asked Romberg to teach him a spell that could revive withered flowers. Romberg taught him white magic, but on the condition that Ake must keep it secret because this magic could be more dangerous than any weapon in front of a master and his followers. Ake used the white magic to erase his opponents completely. Ake told Basteo that he had already been ambitious to him. Reaching the top by stepping on others was wrong. Therefore, Ake would not forgive him. Provoked, Basteo advanced to attack, but Ake immediately erased him using his white magic. After defeating Basteo, Seviro assumed that the technique had been taught by Romberg. He thought it wasn't a problem since Ake had defeated his opponent. However, the Demon King added that there was a problem, as Brigade 3 had lost its general. The Demon King wanted Ake to take responsibility by becoming the general of the forces, but Ake refused the position. He decided to remain as captain to fulfill his goal of ensuring that humans and demons could live side by side. While observing the city from a height, Ake said that the land and climate in this city are ideal for the Norval system, an agricultural technique that involves planting various crops in rotation without leaving the land empty. Sati was pleased to hear this because, if applied, everyone could enjoy a larger harvest than before. Additionally, the need for livestock feed could also be met with this method. After taking care of agricultural matters, Ake returned to his residence. Soon after, Jerome came with a report that the King's alliance had moved overnight. This resulted in the destruction of the Second Army that had planned to attack Astria, without even having a chance to fight. Sati asked what the King's alliance was, and Ake explained that it was an agreement made between humans. When the Demon King's army becomes strong, all kingdoms will unite their forces to face it. This alliance had been formed 3 times before, and each time the Demon King's army was defeated, despite the superior individual strength of the demons. The large number of soldiers and the alliance's strategies made it difficult to overcome. Therefore, to cover the large military gap, Ake believed that the only way to fight back was with rifles. Unfortunately, mass production of rifles using alchemy was impossible. Fiorentina had tried to replicate it, but after firing once, the rifle would break. Therefore, the right way to make them was to assemble them one by one, but only the dwarves had the skill to do so. In the past, the human army had forced the dwarves to make weapons for their battles. However, when the dwarf king rejected them, the human army slaughtered their people and destroyed their kingdom. To work together with the dwarves, Ake ordered Lilith and Geron to free their king in the Idmus kingdom. However, when they were about to rescue Giunta, the dwarf king kept asking too many questions. Annoyed, Lilith immediately put him silence with magic. When they left the prison, they encountered a guard who noticed them and realized there was a demon infiltrator. The army was immediately dispatched to pursue them. To help their comrades being chased, Ake quickly blocked the path with the earth magic he possessed. As a result, Giunta, the dwarf king, was successfully brought back to the demon territory. A while later, Giunta woke up and questioned why demons like them had taken him out of prison. Ake immediately showed him the rifle and asked if he could make something like it. Although it would take a lot of time, Giunta admitted he could make it but was not willing to help demons and did not want to be used by them. To persuade him, Ake said that he wanted to live in peace with humans and would also convince the Demon King to rebuild the dwarf kingdom. Even after being persuaded, Giunta still refused. However, after being reunited with his people, he agreed to help. Ake and the others went to explore the cave to find materials to make bullets, while the dwarves worked hard to create rifles. Once everything was completed, the shooting troops began their training. At the same time, elite-class demons were deployed to the battlefield. When they gathered together, the demon representatives reported that the enemy had 12,000 troops, while their own army only numbered 2,000. To deal with this, Ake planned to confront them here. He wanted the enemy to attack this place and then destroy them once their morale was at its peak. On the other side, the King's alliance troops were getting closer to the demon territory. Meanwhile, Ake was planning the best strategy to face them. Despite being busy, Ake did not ignore Peng, who was with him. When Sati had trouble choosing food, she was willing to help him find a suitable recipe for the army. At that time, they had a large stock of rice, so Sati tried making fried rice. This dish didn't require much time to cook. Ike's comrades were interested in trying it, and they really liked it. When Lily tried the fried rice, she wanted to ask for more, but Sati gave her a large portion, making Lily feel tricked. A while later, the King's alliance troops arrived at the wall. Upon realizing this, the demon forces immediately prepared to face them. Meanwhile, the commander of the alliance's troops thought that the enemy's strength was smaller than expected, despite their efforts in gathering the best soldiers from various countries. It didn't take long before all the troops were ordered to attack in the first wave. The alliance forces deployed stone catapults and spears to repel the attack. Ake activated a giant barrier that stretched along the wall. The first and second waves were successfully repelled, but when they attacked for the third time, Ake could not protect the wall because the enemy's mages managed to penetrate his barrier. As a result, the enemy forces managed to advance and approach the demon defense wall. As the alliance troops began to climb the wall, the demon forces on top attacked them with stones and arrows. Although outnumbered, the demon forces seemed to still withstand the various attacks threatening them. However, the King's alliance forces took a shortcut because they didn't want to wait. They suddenly launched projectiles with slingshots, even though their troops were still fighting at the front line. As a result, many of their soldiers were killed by their own attacks. Although the demon defense was breached, the method used by the alliance was too excessive. Even though the wall was destroyed, the Demon King's army did not allow the enemy to enter the city. As the alliance forces approached the wall, Bayo's team immediately confronted them and defeated them quickly. Along with the sniper team, the demon forces managed to hold their ground and pushed some of the enemy back. Beforehand, Ake had instructed his troops to fight to the best of their ability. He explained that he wanted them to fight with all their strength and then retreat immediately, no matter the situation. When Bo retreated, Fiorentina used the alchemical technique of demon thorns to block the wall, preventing the enemy forces from entering. Even without troops guarding it, the enemy couldn't get through. Next, it was Gamo's team's turn to attack. With their massive bodies, they were able to slaughter the enemy forces with just their bare hands. This strategy was similar to when they repaired the city, fighting the enemy in shifts to disrupt their formation and deplete their combat strength. The demon bat forces could unleash their full power at any time because they had enough time to rest. However, due to the overwhelming number of enemies, they couldn't possibly fight them all at once. This was when Fiorentina and the sniper team, led by Girone, began to take action. They lured the enemy forces into narrowing their attack range. The King's Alliance forces were preparing to launch the next wave of their attack, but just as they were about to strike, the Tarring beasts were deployed to destroy their weapons. So far, everything was going according to Ike's combat strategy. The commander of the King's Alliance could not accept this situation. Although his subordinates advised retreating, to preserve their honor, he decided to launch a full-on attack. This time, all the forces were ordered to advance together, and their general would also join the assault. At that moment, it was Ike's turn to act. He used magic to split the ground, creating a deep chasm. This caused the enemy's formation to fall apart, and their general lost contact with his troops. After that, Ike met with the enemy leader and made it clear that he would allow him to live if they retreated from the battlefield immediately. Despite being ordered to retreat, the enemy leader refused to do so. Then, when Gyenta tried to take revenge, the leader was finally forced to withdraw and pull back his entire army. With that, the war was won by the demon forces. They truly felt proud to have defeated an enemy force that outnumbered them. Severo praised Ike for his success in the battle. For the next mission, Ike was ordered to go to Zenobia to establish a trade partnership. The reason was that the demon army needed sufficient logistics for their supplies. Realizing that Ike would be going to Zenobia, Lilith and Girone fought over who would accompany him on the journey. However, this time Ike asked them to stay behind to avoid forcing them to go. Lilith was assigned the task of maintaining security, and Girone was tasked with managing the city. Meanwhile, while they were carrying out their tasks, Ike secretly invited Sati to accompany him on his journey. During the journey, Sati asked about Zenobia. Ike explained that Zenobia was not a country, but a trading city located to the south. Zenobia thrived through trade and was a member of a trading federation. Due to its warm climate, Zenobia almost had everything the Demon King's army needed. For this reason, the outcome of the next war would heavily depend on the negotiations that would take place there. During the journey, a group of pirates attacked a noble's caravan, except for a woman who was inside the carriage. It seemed they were targeting her and intending to kidnap her. Fortunately, Ike was nearby and immediately rescued the caravan from the pirate attack. It turned out that the woman Ike saved was Yuria, the daughter of the leader of Zenobia. After being rescued, Yuria wanted to thank Ike properly. She gave him a ride and introduced him to her mother. However, when Ike spoke with Yuria's mother, Elria, he realized that Ike was a messenger from the Demon King's army. Since Ike had been found out, he revealed that he was the leader of Iarias. The reason for his visit was that the Demon King's army wanted to establish a trade agreement with Zenobia. Although it was the first time such a thing was being done, Ike hoped that this partnership could help create a situation where humans and demons could live side by side. However, since Ike had no evidence to support his words, Elria rejected the partnership. But when Ike offered to eliminate the pirates in Zenobia's territory, Elria immediately considered it due to the significant losses caused by the pirates. After thinking it over, Elria finally agreed to the trade agreement, but with one condition: Ike had to marry her daughter. Not long after, the pirates returned to cause trouble. They stole all the goods in the harbor and kidnapped women to take them aboard their ship.
時間があまりないようだ。アイクよ。さあ答えは。
一足遅かったか。
あそこに。
我がありがとうございます。どうしてこんなことに狙ったようです。族の規模。
Meanwhile, when Ike spoke with Yuria, she stated that she had no objections to marrying him. She was serious about wanting to become his wife and confessed that it was love at first sight. Hearing this confession, Sati felt jealous. Then, when Sati went outside to change the mood, the pirates mistook her for the leader of Zenobia's daughter and kidnapped her. Sati tried to escape from the ship, but she couldn't go anywhere because the ship was already in the middle of the sea. When Sati was brought before the pirate captain, Kurosa, He told her that she was not Princess Yuria. However, Kurosa decided to keep her because, by coincidence, he needed a servant. Meanwhile, Aik had just received the news that Sati had been kidnapped. He immediately asked Elria to lend him a ship, and he would go search for her himself. Elria allowed Aik to use the Felden ship, and they quickly set sail to find the pirate ship that had kidnapped Sati. Meanwhile, Kurosa ordered Sati to wear minimal servant attire. When Sati asked why she had to dress like that, Kurosa explained that, as a servant, her only task was to obey his orders and do whatever pleased him. This was very different from the usual duties of a servant that she knew. After recalling her memories with her original master, Sati insisted that she also wanted to perform the duties of a servant, such as cooking. Kurosa agreed to the idea, and Sati took this opportunity to cause chaos. While cooking, she used a strong alcohol to create a large fire. When the situation started to spiral out of control, she immediately ran away from the pirates who were watching her. While hiding, Sati noticed a lit candle and got an idea to burn the ship's sails, hoping her master would be able to see her position. While hiding in a barrel, one of the pirate crew members found Sati in a panic. Sati tried to escape, but Kurosa used magic on her legs, rendering her unable to move. Fortunately, Aik had already located their ship. As the pirates were about to punish Sati, Aik immediately attacked them with his lightning and wind magic. Sati thanked Aik for coming to her rescue but also felt unworthy of his help, since she was a slave to begin with. Aik clarified that Sati was his servant, and as her master, he would never abandon her. A short time later, Kurosa launched a counterattack. Although Aik was no ordinary sorcerer, he refused to give up Sati, as he had already considered her his woman. Kurosa then unleashed a powerful water cannon magic attack. The blast was strong enough to damage the ship's hull, and Kurosa believed his opponent was defeated. However, Aik was still unharmed and began casting an even stronger water spell. He threatened Kurosa, saying he would not forgive him and would make sure Kurosa could never be a pirate again. After that, Aik launched his magical attacks, destroying the pirate ship completely. Despite his overwhelming power, Aik held back so he could capture the pirates alive. On the other side, the Demon King's army was facing difficulties due to dwindling food supplies. At the same time, the engagement ceremony between Yuria and Aik was about to take place. In the midst of the ceremony, the Demon King suddenly ordered Aik to return to the city because Severo's condition was in danger. At this time, Aresta, which had been conquered by Severo, was surrounded by the Human Alliance's forces. They intentionally lured Severo's forces into the city and then turned the tables on them. Fiorentina was no longer able to hold out and was truly cornered by the continuously arriving Alliance forces. Moreover, this time, the enemy had a sorcerer whose abilities were nearly on par with Severo's. Meanwhile, Aik, who had just returned from Zenobia, received a report from Jerome that the Alliance's forces had launched a full-scale attack. In addition to Aresta, the Iveria's region had also been attacked. However, what was hard to believe was that a young girl had managed to save them and defeat all the enemies alone. Given that the situation there had become somewhat safer, Aik decided to head straight for Astria. For Gunta, this was the right time to repay his debt, as Aik had purchased a place for the wandering dwarfs to live. As the former king of the dwarfs, Gunta planned to help Aik by leading 100 warriors to support him. Additionally, the human population offered their assistance in the battle. Aik accepted their help to protect Iverias, but if the Alliance's forces attacked, they were asked to surrender, as their lives would be at risk if they were discovered aiding the demons. The following day, Aik and his forces began their journey toward Astria. The journey took about 4 days. In his heart, Aik hoped that Severo would be able to hold out until then. However, Severo, who was outnumbered, was struggling to survive. She couldn't use magic recklessly because her allies would also be affected by the spells. In order to eliminate more enemies, Severo was forced to move forward on her own. Unfortunately, as she was about to leave the city, she was attacked by the enemy sorcerer. Severely injured, Severo retreated to higher ground to strike at the enemies outside the walls, but as she was preparing a spell, she was shot with an arrow. The one who shot her was Aldoria, the leader of the Red Aga forces, whom Severo had previously spared. After being captured, Severo was immediately placed in an interrogation room. This made her regret sparing all Doria, as if he had defeated her at that time, Severo wouldn't have to endure such humiliation. All Doria, however, did not plan to end Severo's life immediately. He was ordered to eliminate the Demon King's forces, including Severo and his disciples. Before completing his mission, all Doria promised his safety. Meanwhile, Ake and his forces had arrived near Astria. Before giving the order to attack, Ake sent Giron to scout the enemy's situation. Based on his observations, Giron found Severo's clothing hanging on a wall, indicating that Severo was still alive and being used as bait to eliminate Ike's forces. After devising a plan to save Severo, Ake and his forces began their attack the following day. Despite their smaller numbers, the magic unleashed by Ake was so powerful that it caused the enemy forces to panic. The Red Dragon forces were quickly deployed to face this attack. In addition to protecting the gates and the city walls, they also launched a counterattack using their main weapons. Not long after, Eildoria ordered the attacks to stop. He wanted to avoid a battle outside the gates to prevent casualties on his side. Furthermore, the demon forces were not advancing much, seemingly not intending to rescue the prisoners inside the city. However, in reality, Lilith had been sent to rescue Severo. When the guards were distracted, Lilith quietly squeezed out all of her energy, causing her body to wither. Shortly after, Lilith arrived at the prisoner's location. Using magic, she put the surrounding guards to sleep. Once everyone was unconscious, she appeared in front of Fiorentina and the other prisoners. However, just as she was about to rescue them, another enemy force launched an arrow attack, causing Fiorentina to fall and lose consciousness. When the Alliance's forces tried to retrieve the prisoners, Lilith laughed at them. It turned out she was mocking them because they hadn't realized that Giron and the sniper forces had already arrived. As the snipers began to attack, the Alliance forces scattered in panic. Despite wearing heavy armor, they were powerless to defend themselves. In addition to the snipers, Severo also tried to contribute by attacking whenever possible. Soon, more demon forces were called to the battlefield to bombard the enemy-controlled areas. In a short time, the demon forces turned the tide. Realizing they could not win, Eildoria ordered his forces to retreat to the west gate. Before pulling back, he also sent a letter to Ake. In the letter, Eildoria confessed that he had not expected to face Ake in this battle. He admitted that he had been defeated by Ike's careful calculations and clever use of his troops. Impressed, he decided to send this letter. In response, Ake quickly wrote a letter back. He expressed his honor at being praised by Eildoria and hoped they could interact outside of the battlefield in the future. Not long after, Demon King Dairokaten arrived in the Astria region. She praised her followers for defeating the Red Dragon forces. Additionally, the Demon King expressed her desire to promote Ake to the position of captain of the 8th Legion. The story ends with Ake being promoted to commander of the 8th Legion, where he will lead the forces to bring about peace between humans and demons.
中で並び二旅団長アイクウヌの今回大義であった
恐悦至極に存じます。
アイクよ、ウヌはやはり一旅団長によって不死旅団団長アイクを大破名はアイク、魔王軍にありかの偉大なるやがて彼はさまざまな種族世界に平穏をもたらした。その彼が実は魔族ではなく人間一切の記録は残っていない。